Hey, I'm McKenna.
And I'm Cass.
And this is Call You in 5.
Well, we're back.
Yes, we're back after a little minute.
Yeah, we're calling each other back. Right?
We have a lot to catch up on.
We took a long 5.
Yes, we did. It is very
for a very timely episode of how to deal with falling out of routine. And
being okay with it.
With it. Yeah. We are both from catching up, just much in need of grace for ourselves. So we're you know who else probably needs some grace for themselves? People who listen to Call You in 5, our friends who we probably need to call back. Do you have any life updates you wanna share?
Oh my goodness.
Missy?
Well, yeah, I'm 32 weeks pregnant. That is wild.
And glowing. You look so stunning.
Thank you.
You really do.
Thanks. You make me feel better. I feel so sluggish though. I'm hitting the point where I am hoping the nesting phase kicks in soon and I have a spurt of energy.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully soon, because probably should get the bassinet ready and stuff like that, but we haven't done anything to prepare.
Yeah.
So I need to do that soon. But update wise, no, I'm just pregnant still.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. Baby girl Ashcroft coming soon.
Yes.
2 months.
2 months. Countdown starts. And I really wouldn't make a big deal about this, but I did get a car, and the only reason I make a big deal about it is because I feel like the last 2.5 years on TikTok, I've been joking about my compact sedan and wanting a new car. So I feel like it's kind of made it a bigger deal than it is, but she finally got a new car.
Well, there's been so many seasons too of being so close to
Yeah.
a new one, or the Mazda almost died, and
Yeah.
it was it's here, it's gonna
Yes,
happen,
yes.
and then it hasn't happened. So
Yes.
it feels like a huge full circle
Yes.
came through to fruition moment for you.
Yeah, and Leela loves it. She loves getting in the car and driving around now. She always asks, actually she kind of throws a fit if I open the garage door and she doesn't get in the car.
Oh, that's so funny.
But
it's Pavlov, the conditioning. She's conditioned when she hears the garage door.
Yes.
That she's getting in the new car.
Yes. No, she really has. And when she hears the basement door close, she says, "Bye-bye, Dada." She knows that that's where Joey's going.
That's
if she
awesome.
hears, even if he's upstairs sleeping and I close the basement door at 7 a.m. "Bye-bye, Dada." I'm he's not down there.
That's kind of awesome. Oh, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
Gosh, well, since we recorded our last episode, it's just been busy.
Yeah.
I was out of town for my birthday. I was working, and then I had a couple other trips in March, which were awesome. And then I had a bachelorette last weekend, and then I'm getting ready to be gone for a week, which is actually a pretty long time for me. Normally when I I'm going to speak somewhere, I'm gone for a day or a day and back, so it ends up being a 48-hour trip. This trip, I'm speaking in 4 states, and then I have another bonus 3 that I'm hitting along the way.
Oh,
I'm gonna be in Orlando, Florida, Johnson City, Tennessee, Harrisburg, Virginia. I'm flying out of DC to go to Boston to take a train to Providence, Rhode Island to hang out there for a couple days. And then also in there, I'm flying in, before Johnson City, I'm flying into Asheville, North Carolina, which is where I've always wanted to go. It's a cute mountain town. Okay. Yeah, in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I've heard it's so beautiful.
I haven't heard of Asheville. I'll have to check that out.
So I'll let you know how it is. So anyways, I just feel I feel so thankful for how much business I have right now, but also so overwhelmed and have just been really fighting even myself of wait, how do I have time to clean the house or cook a meal or I normally have margin to see my friends, but why does it feel like seeing my friends I'm sacrificing other things? And so anyways, it's just been there's been a lot of interesting trade-offs that I feel I've been making in the last couple of weeks, and I also am trying to get more sleep, and it's I feel it when I don't get as much sleep. Anyways.
I feel I can relate to that a ton, because work has been busier for me too, which I am grateful for. I'm very blessed to have super busy work, but it's there was no time to give as it was with life in general, Leela, friends, church, all that. And I'm like, where am I finding the time to do this? So I can relate to that. Plus, I need more sleep now too.
I feel like people who are like entrepreneurial by nature, right? Like we have as much work as we work for. Like we work to have work to do. Like we have to market ourselves to have work to do. I think there's seasons of like putting ourselves out there in different capacities, like if it's on social media or marketing in different ways, and then like wondering if anyone's noticing what we're doing. And then I feel like the influx of like the feast, like feast or famine, you know, it's like it all comes at the same time. Like you and I were talking about, it's like, oh wow, there is so much to do all of a sudden. And I do dream of like, for people like we're talking about today who like crave routine, it's like, wow, it'd be so nice if I could have this spread out over 3 months, because you never know, like, okay, I have this quantity of work to do this month, but like maybe I'll have 50% of it or 25% of it next month.
Right.
And so it's like, wait, I need to do this work now so I can like budget for the rest of the year. Oh, Leela.
We have a special guest.
Leela, do you want to join us? Or
this goes along with like falling out of routine and just being okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we were just talking about like, it's hard to know. It's hard to know like what to say yes to and what to say no to when like so much of your work dictates like the outcome of your year, and it looks different. Like you and I are not people who get paid the same amount every 2 weeks.
Right. Which can also make it really hard. We were just talking about like financing things in a house, but it can make it hard to say no to things when you're like, in a month, I may not have any work, you know? So then during those busy times, you just kind of get overwhelmed, and I just have a lot on your plate, I guess. Yeah. Without compromising other things. But Cassie and I have been talking a lot about this whole thing that we want to chat about in this episode today, which is getting out of routine. But I feel like a lot of the things that I'm seeing lately are getting out of routine and how to get back. I think Cassie and I want to talk more about like how to just embrace it and be okay with it. Yeah. You know? So this episode's gonna like more so about, I struggle with this, is being okay with being out of routine. Yeah. And like I'm very hard on myself when I'm not consistent with the things that I put my mind to. Yeah. And just with the season of life that I'm in right now, with being pregnant and stuff like that, nothing is the same every day. Like I may not even feel the same tomorrow. I may not be able to do the same things I did today. Working out is inconsistent because I can't do the things I used to do. And I've also found, I don't even think I've shared this on social media at all, really, maybe a little bit on Instagram stories, but I have like a degenerative disc too. And I found that out when I was pregnant. So I can't work out like I used to. I have to do super low impact, and which also goes along with being pregnant. I can't do high impact, otherwise I will pee my pants. But just also with protecting my back. So like changing my whole routine in the workout sense, but also not like, I look in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, whoa, whoa, this is crazy to see your body change this much in such a short amount of time. Yeah. And even like with postpartum, your body changes so fast, like in the shortest amount of time. And I'm trying to embrace it and just be like, okay, like it's okay to be out of routine, and it's okay. It's not like I'm never going to have that again. And not that life is going to look the same. It's definitely not going to look the same when we bring another kid into this world. Our routine is going to get messed up even more, but just being okay with it. Like I am very hard on myself when I'm not consistent with the things that I've set my mind to, but that's kind of what the lesson I'm learning the last couple of weeks is, it's okay.
Well, and I think it's really hard because what I'm noticing happens when I fall out of routine is I start to lose trust with myself. Yeah. It's like when I don't get the things done in a day that I said I was going to do, most of them honestly are like unrealistic expectations. Yeah. Like I'm setting myself up for failure. But when I don't meet my expectations of myself, I lose trust with myself. And suddenly I not only am not getting those things done, but I'm beating myself up and saying like, well, you don't have a strong enough work ethic, you're not disciplined enough. Yeah. When like, I'm not pregnant, but my body is asking me to rest. Right. Or if you are pregnant, like your body is like literally, I mean, you don't have to be pregnant to need rest, just to be abundantly clear. Right. But I think that's one thing I'm noticing with exercise, with morning routine, is, okay, sometimes things are gonna look a little different, or even like throughout the day. Like sometimes I could rock my morning, but by 10 a.m. I have 8 more things on my plate than I expected, if those were things that came through the inbox. Or like, you and I talk about this a lot, like I am a really attentive friend. That's a huge value and priority of mine, is being there for my people. And sometimes things happen in my friends' lives that like need attending to. And so it's like, well, I'm gonna move this thing that I said I was gonna do either for myself or was blocked on a calendar that needed to get done, because so much of my job is not, hey, clock in and clock out these hours. It's like, I'm gonna personally block this time to get this thing done, because that's how I run my company, is personal accountability. You know?
You have to be a business owner.
100%. And so when some of those things get missed or moved to accommodate other priorities, it can feel like such a failure. When it's not a failure, it's just like a recalibration of priorities. And I think the flexibility of those things, if we aren't people who are wired well to be flexible, that when those things get moved around, we have a really hard time adjusting or accommodating the new needs as they arise. I don't know. What does that look like to you? Like, what are some of the things that come up for you when your schedule gets thrown off?
Oh, well, clearly it's a almost 2-year-old. That is the reason my schedule gets thrown off every day.
Or I guess like what comes up for you? Like what, like emotionally, or like when your 2-year-old is like, actually, Mom, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do what I want to do.
I think the thing for me is, it's when I have something on my to-do list, it's really hard for me to shut my brain off and like just be in the moment until those things are done, which is something that I'm still working through, because especially with being in school, like I'm in school and I'm running a business and I'm doing brand deals and all these things, and I am running photography business. Like I have a lot of things that I'm doing, all very part-time. Again, when our day gets thrown off, I have a little almost 2-year-old throwing it off. But for me, having like a to-do list keeps me on task, but also it kind of stunts me in a way.
Yeah.
Because then when I'm out at the park with Leela, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I have to get this done by the end of the day. Oh, I can't like shut it off. But my whole goal with working for myself is to be free when Leela is awake and work when she's napping, so that I can be present with her, because that is my first priority, is to be a mom.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time turning work off in my personal life. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners can relate to that, because I feel like I see this joke all the time on TikTok or Instagram or in memes and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, I quit my 9 to 5 to work for myself and work 24/7.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I literally see that everywhere, and I'm like, that is so relatable. But that is, I think, when that happens, that's what kind of brings up the negative emotions, or like the frustration, or like when I don't have as much patience with Leela, is because I have a to-do list in the back of my mind that does not need to be done right now. Yeah. But I can't turn it off sometimes.
Yeah, well, and I find I'm having a really hard time in this season being present, to your point. Like, one of the best gifts of my job is getting to travel the country and be in person with women in the moments that matter most, in their academic or sorority calendar. And so what's so sweet about that is I get to literally be with them in person. And what I hate is the moments that I'm like internally like thinking about the social media that I need to
capture
get from that event, or the deliverables for other clients that I've taken on that I haven't met yet. And it's so easy for me to be so hard on myself in those moments of like, well, you're just not working hard enough before you show up at that event. But it's like, well, what did I do to get to that event? I like had to pack. I like had to clean my house. I like had to see a friend, or whatever the things are. And so it's really important to me to be really present. And so I think one thing that I'm working on is like, okay, how do I schedule my time in such a way that I can get those kinds of things done, so that the ongoing to-do list doesn't feel so urgent, and I can get to it after that event, but I get to be super present in the moments that matter most.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's something I'm working through right now, is like trying to be super present.
Yeah.
But I also, Joey is like, loves to tell me it's time management.
You know what's so funny? I actually don't think it's time management, and I'll fight with Joey on this, because I think managing your time is bogus, I think I've said this on the podcast before, I don't think you can manage your time. I think you can only manage your priorities.
Yeah, I like that.
Because you are never going to get more time, and you're never going to be able to fit everything that you think you need to do into time. But your priorities, if they are put in the right order, will always be met in that order.
Yeah.
And so when you start to notice that, like, well, this is number 4 or 5 on the priority, but it's always the first thing I feel like I have to do in a day, well, why is that, like, outpacing something else?
Right.
Like, what is, like, the deeper need that I'm feeling I need to fill before the things that I have, like, self-proclaimed should matter most?
You know, I think that's a great step into what I was about to talk about.
Yeah.
Because priorities, right? Like, obviously Leela is my number 1 priority, and then I want to grow my business. Like, I want to grow my personal brand. It's something new that I've stepped into with social media and stuff like that, and that is a priority to me. And unfortunately, which a lot of people will probably disagree on this, keeping a clean house is not above those 2 things.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times our house is chaos. And you know what, it really, like, as a full-time stay-at-home mom, that is a part of, like, my trait of what I want to be able to do is keep a nice, clean house. But that doesn't come before Leela and making sure she has a fun day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Priorities, managing your priorities, and it does not get done every day. And luckily I have a husband who's amazing at night. When I'm, like, completely tired at 9 p.m. and ready to go to bed, he, like, picks up everything if it hasn't been done or whatever. And he, like, is more than happy to do that. He's a night person. So I'm in the morning. I would love to just clean in the morning anyways and do all the tasks that I need to do in the morning. But we have another little person that wakes up early in the morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have something to say. You go off of that.
Well, I think what you're talking about is, like, kind of the way I want and, like, trying to move into scheduling my life is, like, okay, I'm in a season where having a routine is really challenging because every day, every week looks a little bit different. So instead of having a routine or, like, even a schedule of what my day is going to look like, recognizing that it could be interrupted for a variety of reasons, I just need anchors throughout my day to pull me back to what my priorities are. So it's like, maybe it's before I go to bed at night. I do this every night before I go to bed. I'm like, okay, what's on my brain that if I don't write this down, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight? Like, and so I just do a mental download of, if it's Tuesday night, okay, what's my Wednesday gonna look like? And I put my meetings on there. I, like, throw in the to-dos and, like, realistically the things I think that I can fit between different meetings. And that doesn't always happen, right?
Yeah.
Like, I budgeted to get a couple videos recorded before I left for a shoot this morning, before I drove down here to hang out with you. And those things haven't gotten done yet. So those are gonna have to move until after we hang out, right? But in my head, I just know the things that have to get done. And I've heard it said, it's like, what are the top 3 things that you need to get done in a day for you to be successful? Like, the tangible takeaways, it's like, okay, these are the 3 most important things. And then if your day gets interrupted by a 2-year-old, by a friend that's calling, by an unexpected email or a phone call, having anchors throughout the day, if it's like, okay, I have this anchor in the evening that helps me cast vision for what needs to get done the next day. In the morning, maybe I, like, try to have my morning routine and then check in with those priorities. Maybe something interrupts me. Maybe I check in with that, like, lunchtime, early afternoon. And then we come back to the drawing board in the evening. And so I have these moments throughout my day that can, like, pull me back. Maybe for you, that's, like, after Leela goes to bed, before Leela wakes up, and when Leela's napping.
Around her schedule.
Yeah, it's gonna look different for everyone. And I think the most important thing that you talked about is, like, when we have those touch points with ourselves, it's really important to say, like, okay, what are the most important things to me, and, like, the people who rely, like, and the deliverables that are, like, that have been exposed to me that are, like, the most important, not what are the most important things to other people. Someone else looking at my life who would walk in here and, to your example, say my house is a mess, or say, oh, you should really, like, order this birthday gift now for whoever, or would say, oh, you should really get ahead on this project for something. Only you get to decide what your priorities are. That. And I think we spend so much time, I will take personal accountability. I spend so much time thinking, well, what will other people think of how I'm spending my time or money or other, I think time and money are, like, our most limited resources, time before money for sure. Like, I I would pay to have more time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what's so funny about that? If I had more time, I'd probably still have the same problem. I'd feel that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, with the 24 hours I have in a day, I have to spend eight of them sleeping. I just have to. Yeah. Because that's really important to me, and I need to spend an hour on each end, like, unwinding.
Yeah.
If that's like, I love having my coffee and like having my quiet time in the morning, and I'm like trying to be a girl who reads before bed and like turns off her phone, like brush teeth, makeup off, in bed an hour before I'm actually gonna go to sleep. You know, like those are, so now that's 10 hours of my 24. I got 14 hours to fill. I worked for 15 hours the other day. So like the math just isn't working there.
Right.
So I think I was actually out of the house for 15 hours the other day. So I think it's just so important to, when you look at your anchors and when you look at your priorities, recognizing that you can never create more time. You can never like finagle your time in such a way that you're going to get everything done. You can only manage your priorities. What are your priorities for your life to feel successful to you? Not to someone else, that like allows your head to hit the pillow at night feeling like this was a really fulfilling day. And I'm accomplished. I'm like set up to have another fulfilling day tomorrow. Because I do think a lot of people are routine people, which is great. But I think it's important to ask, are you a routine person because you actually operate well in a routine, or because you feel like you have to be on a routine to feel successful?
Right.
What does like triaging that look like for people who have lives that are just so chaotic, for lack of trying? Like, I don't try to make my life chaotic, you know, like that's not the ambition. But I think it's important to like really look at like, okay, what are the things that matter the most to you that are going to allow you to feel the most fulfilled? How do you prioritize them in such a way that can help dictate how you get things done every day? And even like, I think the next thing we're going to talk about is like, and consequently extend yourself grace in the things that.
I think that the most important thing is to just have grace with yourself, because like you said, you're not going to be able to accomplish everything that you want to accomplish in a day, and you might get out of routine. Things might fall through the cracks. But how you mentioned prioritizing the top things that need to get done, and you can go to bed at night knowing that you did everything you could to make those things happen. And for me, my top priority is to keep my daughter fed, right?
Yeah.
Like if there's a food on the table, a roof over our head, we're warm, like really that is a very, very good life, in my opinion. And everything else is just stress that I'm adding onto my plate, you know? So that's also a good little reminder.
What does
pretty often
grace look like to you?
Well, lately, just being okay with things not meeting deadlines.
Yeah.
Luckily, I work with an amazing management company that, like, if I am behind, they, like, figure that out with the brands for me. Like, if I am sick for a day, I remember, like, a month or two, I was sick for a while, and they just figured it out for me. I'm like, hey, it really hurt me to not have something to a brand on time, but it was fine. Everything worked out fine. I still did the brand deal. The brand was totally fine with it, and everything ended up being okay.
Yeah.
I got a good night's sleep that night, and I don't know, life goes on, and it's not the end of the world, you know?
I think I saw this TikTok, I don't know if you saw this, but like how as technology continues to advance and like, you know, like accessibility becomes like the currency of our lives, of like how do we make things like the most convenient and easy, we are actually becoming more and more isolated from one another, because like, oh, I'm not going to ask you for a ride to the airport, I could just Uber. Or like, I'm not going to go to my neighbor for a cup of sugar, I can just Instacart it. Or whatever, like the less and less we like ask for help, or like acknowledge our humanity in things, the more isolated that we feel from one another. And I think that's more so true for like single people who are like really out there just like making things work on their own, especially like I'm in this category of like not having family close. And so I love how you just talked about like your humanity of being sick and asking for an extension and it not being like a normal part of who you are. It's not like you're lazy, you're just human.
Yeah.
And I think for me, when I think about like what grace looks like for me, it's yes, not only giving myself the thing that I need, if it's more sleep, if it's to push something to tomorrow, but it's also I'm trying to get better at this, interrupting the negative thoughts of judgment that follow me giving myself that grace. It's like, okay, I give myself what I need, but that is so quickly often followed by like, well, you're bad at your job, you're lazy, you've got a low work ethic, you're a bad friend, whatever. And instead of giving myself what I need with the consequence of like the negative self-talk, it's giving myself what I need and interrupting the negative self-talk to say, no, not only do I get what I need, but I also deserve to like honor what I need.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think that that's really great. I think sometimes we just need that reminder, just that reminder that it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're human and we don't need to beat ourselves up for missing a deadline. We don't need to, not that like it's good to miss them and you should make it a routine thing, but like it happens, you know?
Yeah.
And it's okay. I think both of us have kind of been out of routine and just been super busy the last month. And we say all that now because we've kind of missed some episodes. And you know what? It is what it is, right?
And we're giving ourselves grace.
Yeah.
And so we thank you from where we sit now for your grace with us.
Yes.
For being off track. And I think hopefully that's like a helpful window into other people you like follow or keep up with on social media that like they're humans too. They like just need some grace sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, give yourself some grace this week. I hope that this is a helpful and needed reminder that you don't have to be superhuman. You don't have to be like the most diligent person in your routine to be good at the things that you love to do or like love to pride yourself in doing.
Yeah, I think that that's great. I think that that is probably a good place to leave the episode. Make sure that you're following us and subscribe on YouTube or any place that you get your podcasts, and you can follow us on Instagram as well. And yeah, we'll call you next week.
Call you next week.
Bye.